Congratulations on the film. I
Thank
just
you.
watched it very recently. How did you get involved in a project like this that's taken you away from home, obviously, to
Yeah.
America? So to tell me more about how you got involved in this.
Wow. It's a crazy story actually. It kind of all started when I was 19. I was really into motorbikes. And sadly I had a motorbike accident and I was out of action for a while. Not that I was really into action at first. I was going from like selling laptops, but then not being able to work or anything. During my recovery time, I was watching a lot of action movies, a lot of anime. And that inspired me to start my martial arts journey. And I was posting my videos on Instagram at the time, and I made this like superhero alter ego that was kind of documenting my training. And after a while, James Bamford, the director, saw my page off of the back of some like videos that went viral. And he'd been watching me for a few years and saw that I was working towards, being in movies and working on my skills and working on my acting. And so when he had written Jade, he had considered me for the role. And so then I got the chance to take for it and got it.
So, so
Yeah, so
this, yeah, so this came before your involvement with Marvel and Black Widow and things like that.
I'd say maybe I had been on his radar, the director, before that.
Okay.
But I actually got the chance to do Black Widow in 2019. And so then, yeah, Jade got made in 2021. So yeah, a couple of years after. But when I spoke to the director, he said that he'd been following my journey for a few years prior. So
Yeah.
yeah, that meant a lot to me.
Can we talk about your involvement with something as big as Black Widow, some that kind of uh, b- massive project, like a massive production value project? How did you get involved in that? And was it something that you've always dreamt of? And was it something that was it exactly what you expected it to be?
Oh wow, it was definitely something I always dreamt of, at least until I knew that I had a love for, martial arts and acting myself. Before I got into that, I'd always loved superheroes and, female superheroes and just like action heroes and all that. So yeah, I always loved Marvel, but it never really became a possibility to me after I started training. And one day I was invited to speak at the Film Institute, and that was super unexpected. But I was basically kind of telling my story, how I went from doing work in a corporate field, which is cool, but from going that into kind of going straight into acting and martial arts. So I'm talking, and at the end of this talk, I kind of said, one day you're going to see me in a Marvel movie, and I don't have the contract yet, I don't have the offer or the plan yet, but what I do know is that I'm going to do everything I can to make it happen, and I genuinely believe it's going to happen for me. And then like 4 months later, then I got the casting, and it was just like, I was like, it's happening.
Oh, that's
So
incredible.
yeah, so I taped for that, I put my everything into that. I was training really hard, and then I got to go to an audition and show like my skills and what I could do. And I got put on wires for the first time in that audition, and I was just like in there. I was like, it has to happen. And then yeah, then I got chosen for that role as well. So yeah, it just felt like direct result of my like manifestation, like following that joy and saying, hey, this is what I want to do. And I don't know exactly how I'm going to get there, but I believe in myself so much it's going to happen. And then it happened. And that was like confirmation that I'm on the right path here.
Hmm. Let's
Yeah.
talk about Jade because I think the look of the movie and your look in it is very much reminiscent of those kind of like retro sort of pulpy movies, like let's say Foxy Brown, Cleopatra.
Yeah.
Had you been a fan of those sort of? I don't want to say black exploitation, but like a retro sort of female heroine
hmm
movies.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, when I first got into martial arts, that's when I like learned like, whoa, wait, there is a whole genre of
Mm.
black people doing like martial arts action, that kind of stuff, because I didn't know before. So that's when like maybe a year into my martial arts journey is I discovered like Foxy Brown, and then it hit me that when I was young, there was this kind of like a spoof version of a black exploitation film that was made called Undercover Brother, and it was like a comedy. It was hilarious, and I used to watch it with my brother. And then it's like I was like, yeah, that came back, and it was. I wouldn't say that was an influence, but that was more of like a motivation to go for it, because then for the first time I had seen black people on screen doing that kind of action, and I was like, this needs to be a thing again. Maybe slightly different, but yeah, it needs to be back. So
Yeah.
yeah, I love Foxy Brown.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you also starred in the Woman King.
Yeah.
Talk me through how your involvement with that and that experience of working with those actresses, and you know the meaning of that film for loads of Black actors and actresses.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the most profound opportunities, like work, the roles that I did for so many reasons. Where do I even start? When I was contacted to work for that, it was actually 2 years before the movie went into production. Well, before we went back into set, and I was in Ghana for, I think, the first time in 15 to 18 years, like, well, first time in my adulthood. And I'm in Ghana and I'm just like, I just need to reconnect with the homeland. And then I got this message from my agent saying, you know, there's this movie called The Woman King, and they're just in development, and they're just kind of coming up with some of the fighting styles, and they'd like you to work on some of the action, like to help them visualize the action. I was like, what? So, and I was already in Ghana, which is right next door to Benin, which is the home country of the Ogoji warriors.
Mhm.
And yeah, I worked on that. And then, yeah, so then 2 years later, they got back in touch and they were like, hey, we want you to be in the movie. I was like, magical. And working on the movie was just like, it was so, it's my culture, you know, like it's literally my home culture. And so, like, there are a lot of things that made me feel so welcomed and so like a part of the production, you know, like I got to be a Ghanaian character, and I'm of Ghanaian descent. So they gave my character a Ghanaian name, and I got to have my own dialect, and like, and on all our clothes, we had symbols that were familiar to me from like my family household and stuff. And so for me, this was like, it was almost instinctive and ancestral to perform in that movie in the way that I do, how my ancestors would have moved, you know, the weapons, and then working with a team of strong Black women from all different parts of Africa and the Caribbean. I don't know, it was just like amazing. It was just, it's not something that I had anticipated happening in my career, but it was just something that was amazing to be a part of. And especially after Black Widow, when I was in Marvel, I was like, you know, Black Panther was the next best thing for me, because I was like, you know, it's African warriors. And then the Woman King happened, which is just as amazing as Black Panther in terms of representation. But with the Woman King, there's the real history and that pride behind knowing that this is a real place and these are real people. You know, these are the inspirations for the Amazon warriors that have written in so many stories all over the world. And I don't know, it was just like, it was inspiring beyond words. So I could like rant about it. But Viola is amazing. She's like that motherly, maternal figure. And she gave us so many golden nuggets of wisdom to help us on our way. Yeah, and watching the rest of the actresses train so hard. We definitely were all like, we all cried at least once out of joy or still pain. It was like, it was very intense, and everyone did their best to tell this story, you know, because it's beyond just movie making. It's art like this really shapes the world, you know, it changes lives like mine. So yeah.
It's important. You play alongside Mickey Rourke in this movie, and I don't know if, I mean, he's quite a sort of he's kind of a big persona on any
Mm.
set, really. I mean, having gone through a lot in Hollywood, what was it like working with him? Had you known about his past and what he'd been on in before?
Because as a big fan of action movies, I've seen him a few times, and I was like, oh, this is a cool guy. You know,
Mm.
this is definitely going to add some flavor to this movie, and I was really excited to work with him. Or he was definitely, how can I say? He definitely brings the energy and the atmosphere that you would expect from someone that's done the kind of work that he does. And he's really a personality, you know. It's like, it's very interesting watching his work process as well, and the way that he likes to kind of get into character, and he kind of is in character on and off set, and he's just like he's a really fun and quirky guy. So yeah, it's just, it was a really nice experience to work with actors that big. They definitely rub off on you in some of the best ways, when you get to see what made them so popular, made them so likable. So yeah, it was quite a cool experience to work with Mickey Rourke.
Yeah, you've worked also in the film with loads of stunt performers, and it's, for
Mm.
me, it's probably a job in Hollywood that is the least sort of appreciated by, especially by like the Oscars, by award season. How was it working with those people, and what are your feelings on that job, on that as
Working with the stunt performance. Sorry, I lost you for like 5 seconds there, but I think I
yeah,
caught
sorry,
most of
yeah,
it.
with the performance, yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, amazing. Oh my gosh, the best thing ever. Well, so I started with stunts, I would say. I mean, actually, way back when I started acting, when I was younger. But to get back into the industry as an adult, I started with action and stunts, and so I found myself training with a lot of people just in the beginning to kind of figure out what's what, and I would kind of mimic them. So being able to come from like an actor to then being able to work really, really closely with action performers, I don't know. For me, it just feels really rewarding. Like it's like it means a lot to me when they like to work with me and they don't hold back because they know I'm capable of doing all the things. So they give me all these cool moves to try. I'm doing my best to do them. In fact, in Jade, in like the first couple days of rehearsal, it was going so well and they were giving me really cool moves. And then I kind of did like one of these flips and I landed poorly on the mats, like between the mats with this, and I ended up like fracturing a toe. It was super painful, my pinky toe. But then I was like right in the beginning, so we had to finish the entire movie with this injury, which was so painful. But because I had such an amazing team and they understood like the pace that I needed to go at, it's like a dance and it's a rhythm. So they provided me the tempo, the rhythm, and the support to kind of get through everything. So everything you see, it looks really like spontaneous and like I'm dominating the scene, but everyone is working in harmony, and that's how we can create something that looks so realistic, you know. So yeah, it's a really great team, and it's even better when you have a connection and a bond with them during training because it shows on the screen. And like something people should know is that we did not have the time and the resources to really rehearse and block out and create these action sequences like in most movies, you know. A lot of this we actually improvise like moments before shooting, and that's why it's even more rewarding, like being able to see it back and see that, wow, you know, these are big action sequences. They look like they had weeks of planning and hours of rehearsal, and we did not. Sometimes we were working with like the time, the budget, the availability, and we just pull something out of our pockets at the last minute. So yeah, really big shout out to the action team.
Yeah. Is there anyone in particular that you think, or anyone, or any sort of franchise, or any director or screenwriter that you would absolutely love to work with in future project?
Oh, actor, screenwriter, director, so many. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Tarantino has to be up there because I just believe I am the perfect person to play the little girl who's out for revenge because her mom was killed by the bride. It's perfect. I have the skills. I look exactly like her. So that's definitely up there. So, and I'm manifesting that. It's just the same way I did with Black Widow. That will happen. Tarantino will wake up one day and have the inspiration to write that. So yeah. So
I'm manifesting for you.
thank you. It has to. It's gonna be great. I owe it to the world. Actors, there are so many. I'd love to work with Viola again. I'd love to work with Denzel Washington, Idris Elba. Oh my gosh, there's too many. Everyone from all of my favorite movies. So I'm gonna shout out to Kick-Ass was a great movie. Colombiana is a great movie. Inside Man, The Matrix. Jackie Chan, actually, no, okay, so let's reel it in. Jackie Chan is one of my biggest idols. I love him so much. I love his style and the way that he brings his character to the role. So Jackie Chan, I have to at least meet him one day. If I ever work with him, I can like die happy. So yeah.
I think finally, I just want to ask you, are you working on anything at the moment that you could share with us that you could?
Ew. Am I allowed to say? I think so. I think I can say. If
Oh,
not, I'll
good.
send you an email after to
Okay,
say
yes,
don't put
yes.
that in. But I'm about to start working on a movie called The Last Gunfight. And yeah, I guess I won't say anything else, but I get to do, you know, I get to do what I do best. I have a really cool role, and I'll be doing lots of cool action to go in with that role. And so there are things that are still coming out too. There is The Killer's Game, which will be out September 13th. Which another very fun role with a very fun director, JJ Perry. Again, getting to do different skills. I like that every movie I get to do something different that hasn't been seen before, but I have like in my pocket. And yeah, and then since then, since Jade, I got to work with SZA at the Grammys, which was crazy, like huge for me. I got to work with The Weeknd on a music video, and I've got to do like loads of commercials and just like fun stuff. So yeah, everyone should just keep their eyes peeled because there are things coming out.
Brilliant. Thank you so,
Yeah.
so much, and good luck. And I wish you best of luck with everything that's coming up for you.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey, you guys!
Hey, you guys!